Oh, I lost you.
What's that?
Are you okay?
It's the Al Travis Show. We love having him on the air with us. He is our farmer extraordinaire. He's Jerry Groskreutz. Jerry, how you doing, my friend?
Well, that's kind of a dangerous question. Have you looked outside lately?
Oh, you got to just be itching, aren't you? You're just itching to get yourself out there. But now we got to talk a little bit about that. I really do want to talk about it. We had a little bit of rain, and I'm guessing here half an inch. It was a long, steady day of just light rain. Probably pulled you out of the fields, which ticks you off. But tell me that's not the perfect setup for you all. Come on.
Well, it depends on, let's qualify everything, Al.
Yeah, all
Because
right.
last Thursday night, Wednesday, I got started planting corn. Beautiful soil conditions, but it was a little cold, but our hybrids
Put a
are,
jacket on.
yep. Well, I had the cab on. Actually had the heater on in the cab rather than the air conditioner, but that's another story. But then we were supposed to get a few tenths of an inch of rain.
Mm-hmm.
I got up Friday morning. I didn't say a bad word. I didn't even think a bad word other than darn. We got just over 2 inches of rain over in my side of the county. So I had to go out Friday afternoon, brought back really bad memories of last year because I had water standing in some of the lower spots. And then since then, we've gotten about another 6-7 tenths. I know the calendar says it's early, but it does bring back some really bad memories of last year.
But now the corn, you put it in, you put a little water on top of it. I get it, but that's got to go away in a day or two, right? We're not that full. So does that crush it? Is it underwater for a day? It's bad, and you got to replant, or what?
No, it should be fine as
All
long
right.
as it warms up now. And I was kind of watching the soil temperature at the 2 imp depth. And as long as that first moisture that seed absorbed when I planted it was warmer, which it was, I should be fine. The only other concern now is it came down really hard. And that can have a tendency of packing the soil. And then if you get some really nice, sunny, warm days, you can get a crust. You have to be watching because sometimes then that corn cotyledon can't get through the soil. You have to be watching that, maybe rotary hoe it to kind of break up that crust so it can emerge. But I'm glad at least I got started. But I was going to point out, you remember this happened 2-3 times you and I have been talking when I was a farmer and I was happy with the weather. I'm not real happy with the weather right now.
Okay, but as far as I can tell, and long range, they're always getting things wrong. We're supposed to warm up and stay relatively dry. I mean, I would think if you can get past chewing your nails this week, you're looking pretty good for the next couple of weeks, and then you're done. You're going to go back to coffee in the mornings. Come on.
I know I'll go to the studio and then I'll go out to the farm because I got some herbicides that get sprayed on. And if all else fails, Al, I'll spend about 3 hours on the 54-inch mower mowing the lawn.
Oh, I can't wait to get the first lawn mowed. Yeah, that is always a good time. Let me ask you this. Were you invited out to the Johnson Farms here? Was it last Thursday out in Faribault County? Amy Klobuchar, Senator Klobuchar came down. He is called Darren Johnson, president of the Minnesota Soybean Growers Association. Also Joe Smetek, MSGA's executive director out there. Did you get invited to? You're a big muckety muck. Did they have you out there?
I could have gone out there, but I was a little preoccupied with my real job.
You're planting. You do serious. These people come on a farmer tour, and you're too busy to take. You are bitten by this. You got to get this in. Really? You didn't go for that?
No, I didn't. However, I heard that I was complaining about a little over 2 inches of rain in a short amount of time. Well, Darren Johnson's farm, which is just basically 18 miles south and just a couple miles west of where my farm is, they got 5 inches of rain in that.
Holy head. Yeah, that was right between, that's right between you and I as we sit.
Yeah.
5 inches. So is he done then, or is this let it dry and he probably hasn't got out there? He's got to reseed.
Well, time will tell. There again, he's got to be watching because if it straightens out now, that water, we've got a lot of tile. And the other key is our outlets, tile outlets are still working because the rivers, the drainage ditches weren't all flooded.
Sure.
The Cobb River just down the road from me was half 3/4 full of water. So everything is working yet. So if it straightens out, that'll be fine. But then you have to watch for that crusting when those
Yeah.
seedlings are trying to emerge. And then, it'll go away with some decent weather, and he'll be back at it in a few days, a week's time, maybe.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you follow the entire state? How are we sitting? I was a little stunned. I want to say it was a month ago. There are still places that were relatively dry, and I'm like, wow, I mean, holy smokes. Where are we sitting? Is most of Minnesota back to normal? I mean, you're sitting loving life now.
Well, we've got plenty of moisture in our area. In fact, I haven't seen the drought monitor for this week yet, but last week, even though I had water standing in the fields, I was still abnormally dry, but I was in moderate or D1 drought the week before. So it takes longer for that to change around. I just look at our tile lines running. If tile lines are running, we got plenty of moisture. That's kind of
Well,
what
and
I
is it
look at.
how do you know how they judge that? And what I mean by that is it just the rivers are dried up, your tile lines, does it go down 6 inches of dirt and they measure it? Does this, because I know corn goes way down in the ground, is this looking at the fact that maybe 6 feet down there's dryness?
I think they might take into a deeper soil profile than what the tile drainage would have. And then they look at the levels. I think they take into account of surface waters like lakes and ponds and river flow. I think they look at all those things. So it takes a little longer for the drought monitor on that map to reflect that I'm no longer in a drought. But in Jerry's book, when
You're
tile
looking
lines are running, I'm not in a drought anymore. Or especially if I have water standing in the fields for a day or two.
All right. We've got to go to break quick, Jerry. I think you brought it up last week about all you farmers getting this cornitis and the beanitis and trying to take care of it. Kent Tesey, who is he with? Kent Tesey.
A Green Solutions Group.
Yeah.
He was an extension educator and vice president ag loan officer, and now he's consulting with Green Solutions Group.
He was out talking about this last week being kind of like a NASCAR race. I'd like to talk to you about that coming up here in just a matter of moments. It's Jerry Groskreutz Daytona 500 out there. We'll talk about why that is in just a matter of moments on the Al Travis Show. We've got him, Jerry Groskreutz, farmer extraordinaire. We've got him, Jerry Groskreutz, on with us talking farming. Yeah, Kent Tesey comes out. He says the start as a big NASCAR race, the beginning of a championship game. Farmers, southern Minnesota, Iowa, full-scale work, ran out and, just took off like crazy people all last week. And in some ways, it is NASCAR-y. Do you find yourself always turning left or always turning right? What is your preferred method on the tractor, my friend?
On one end of the field, I turn left, and then on the other end of the field, I turn right. So it breaks up the monotony a little bit.
Do you really? I was just making that up, and you do that? Okay, that's funny.
No, because when you go across, you start on one edge of the field planting or working up the soil.
Yeah.
Well, now to your left, if you're heading this direction, is work. So when you get to this end, you have to turn right. You make another pass. Then you turn left on the other end of the field to keep going across the field. So we turn right and left. See, so it takes more skill to be a farmer than a NASCAR driver.
Oh, everybody would agree with that. Everybody would agree with it. Now, have you ever done one of those weird plant it and make it grow and look like something in your fields? Have you ever done that?
Like a corn maze? No, yeah. I've never done that, but I've been to some corn mazes like at Farm America, Minnesota's Agriculture Interpretive Center by Waseca. They have a corn maze, and it's kind of amazing to do an interview with somebody that does that. They plant a field normally, and then, this is painful. Then they go out and after the corn gets so bigger, they cut out the path through it to get you in there and only one pass out. It's against my principles to have a beautiful corn plant and then cut it off at the ground.
See, what gets me about that, Jerry, is I could see you doing this, and maybe I'm putting this in your head. I could see you having one of your back 40s with just your big radio station logo cut in. So if the airplanes fly over, you get a big news story, and you'd use that as a publicity stunt. I could see you doing that, my friend. Yeah? No? Yeah?
I don't think so. Although I just had another thought. Then I could maybe work with the local soil and water conservation district and get a pond built, and then I could have my pig swimming right next to that.
See, now And we there's so much more to this pig swimming thing than you and I've ever covered. What about, get a 3 foot above ground pool and maybe some pig diving? Get them on a high, like 10-foot diving thing into the water. I think there's a lot here we could do.
I'll put you in charge of the pig diving. I'll take care of planting the corn. How's that for you?
Fair enough, but we got to decide what lot we're going to put it on. We're going to do a corn maze and all the rest. Let me ask you this, because there's a big story about the University of Minnesota about farmers with drones. Oh. Are you a drone guy? Do you have a drone? Can I play with your drone? I'd love to play with the drone. I love drones. I love drone videos. I love everything about them. Do you have one? You do, don't you? Oh.
I don't have one, but I have access to one. My agronomist has one, and it's really handy to fly over the field. And you can see a lot of things from 20 or 50 feet up in the air that you can't see when you're standing on the ground, or when the crop is bigger and you can't walk through it very easily or ride your gator or four-wheeler through it. Then you have a drone. And you're onto something now. I know some young kids going to college want to be agronomists, and then they can have a drone, and that's part of their job, to go out and play with the drone.
Well, see, again, I think this is really cool stuff that farmers are getting into. But I guess my point is, I presume they're expensive. I don't own one, but they're relatively expensive. I mean, would you put your phone in it and then you watch? I mean, I don't know the whole process.
They come with cameras.
Oh, all right. And then you download the software on your phone so you can look? Okay.
Yeah, or on your laptop. Or I know an agronomist just west of Faribault that has a big drone. And he was out last year already spraying fungicide on his corn that was 6 foot tall. You don't
with a drone?
Yeah.
Well, how big a barrel of fungicide can you hang on a drone? Really?
Well, he could spray like 5 acres or something like that. But the amazing thing is he has to have a separate license for it. And then he'd sit with his computer and he'd map out this field. And he'd just sit there in the field approach or on the side of the road, and he'd fill up the drone, and it would go up and it'd spray as much as it could. It was going to run out of fungicide or herbicide or whatever he was doing. It would come back and land on this semi-trailer bed. He'd fill it up, and it'd go back and it'd fly again. Wow. And he had a generator there to recharge the batteries. And it was so wet that you couldn't get out in the field any other way. And he was out there, and it was, I'd say the drone maybe was about 6 feet across, with a wingtip to wingtip versus, or blade tip to blade tip, versus the smaller ones you're thinking of that you just go out and scout a field with or take pictures from above. This was a big one, and it was tens of thousands of dollars, but it was mind-boggling technology.
See, and I'm sitting here thinking you've been against it because you've farmed for 40-some years. Your parents have been farmed before you. Your grandparents, your great-great-grandparents. You all seem to get by without being able to fly over your fields. I presume you've walked the fields enough. You probably could do it blindfolded. And here you are thinking, I could use a drone. It's toys for you, right? It's just having more toys.
Well, it's a business expense. That means it's a tax deductible toy. No. Just like my gator, some would say it's a toy.
Yes, I understand.
For going back and forth to the fields and picking up a few rocks here and there. And well, think about this. My dad's been gone, will be 10 years this fall. He didn't farm with horses, but he remembers the first tractor he drove was a John Deere Model D. The water boy before that. So he doesn't remember horses, but remembers those old 20, 30 horse, 2-cylinder tractors. He was out riding with me when I was ripping with my cousin's big John Deere on tracks with a hands-free guidance system, and the tractor computers are driving it across the field. So it's
what would he say about you, though, needing an airplane, a drone to go out and look at your fields? Because then I don't have to get off the road, Dad. I think he'd look and say, get your butt off the car and go walk through the field. That's what I think he would say to you, right?
I don't think so. He was a grandfather before that. They were pretty progressive at adopting new ideas. And I'm a small farmer, so my agronomist has a drone rather than me spending the money to buy a drone.
Have you flown it, though? Have you had the fun of they let you?
No. Oh, no, because if you don't know what you're doing, it can get kind of expensive.
Understand? That's my plan. You don't just jump into the big one. Go ahead.
Or if you fly too far away and it loses contact, with a signal, and it just keeps flying until the batteries die, and then you get to go look for it.
See, there's so much more to all this stuff than I know. All right, Jerry, I got to go. I just want to catch up with real quick. You following your Twins? You follow the Twins? You follow the Timberwolves? What are you doing sports-wise? Any of that stuff you keep up on?
Following the Twins a little bit to realize it can only go uphill from here, right?
If we're going to be battling Chicago for the bottom spot, this is going to be a long season. I do trust this thing turns around a little bit.
But it is kind of fun when I'm out in the field, and it breaks up the monotony of listening to the Al Travises all day.
That hurt. Yeah, thank you very much.
To a ball game.
Wow. I'd rather listen to the Twins lose one than listen to Al Travis. Thank you for coming on the show, Jerry. I really appreciate you. You're really fun. I appreciate it, my friend. We're out of time.
Talk to you next week. Hopefully I'll have good news to report. Pedal to the metal.
There you go. That hurt right in the ratings. We'll talk to you, my friend. Jerry Groskreutz, farmer extraordinaire on the Al Travis Show. Yeah, it's not scripted radio, that's for sure. Back with more after this on the Al Travis Show.